The Christchurch City Council has been criticised over their part in the National Conservatorium debate, and questions have been raised over their involvement as a mortgage broker for the university.
You can't separate the university from the city. They're all institutions, and I think one of the responsibilities that we have as a council is to perpetuate the values and institutions of our cities. If you look at our community outcomes in the long-term council community plan, you'll see very, very clearly a relationship between education and this council. And we support education in all sorts of ways, building joint pools, for example, at Papanui, or libraries on school sites so that a community and a school can have a facility. It's not something that's strange to us at all. We're involved with all sorts of sports groups right across the city, to a huge degree actually, so probably far more in a sense with sports and with education. But those are both outcomes for council. They're not what you would call core council in the strictest sense of the word, which is probably roads and rubbish and water and wastewater. But this council has a very broad involvement with its community. It's always been a strength of Christchurch, and I think it continues to be so.
Well, I'm absolutely gobsmacked that the mayor, who was already in deep trouble for funding Dave Henderson, and already in deep trouble for paying far too much for the Ellerslie Flower Show, and already in deep trouble for hiking rents by 24% for pensioners and having to haul them back, would actually want to produce loans to a university that is already funded generally for its own capital works program, or has the capacity to borrow. I mean, the Vice-Chancellor's made it absolutely clear that the only reason they want this money is it's slightly cheaper. Now, that's not a good reason for our ratepayers to be the bankers for the university. It's bizarre.
We believe that the council has the opportunity to facilitate a building that would not otherwise get built at a cost that would be lower than if we had to build it ourselves, at no risk to the council and no cost to the council. That seems to me to be a good proposition and good for the city.
Well, the council was not going to have any form of consultation with the citizens of Christchurch at all on the fact that they're going to lease the land off the Arts Centre for 200 years, which I think is something that needs to be thought about a bit further. 200 years, that they're going to on-lease that to the university, that we, the ratepayers, are going to provide the funding for the university, which I believe is a central government role, not a local government role. They're going to borrow $25 million almost on behalf of us ratepayers to build this. It'll probably go higher than that once all the construction costs come into it, and it's finally finished. And I don't believe that we ever gave a mandate to our council to go ahead with this.
The Save Our Arts Centre organisation would like to see the Arts Centre apply for UNESCO World Heritage status and believe this building would damage any chance of that happening. But others believe a development like this would only improve such an application.
I think if the Arts Centre can achieve a World Heritage status for its buildings, I think we should probably cast it a bit wider myself. And there are a number of stunning buildings in Christchurch. You've got the great Mountford masterpiece of the Provincial Chambers, I think one of my favourite buildings in the universe. You've got the museum building with its additions and changes over the years. You've got some wonderful churches that are associated with the genius that Mountford really, really was. So I see what's happening on the site as not an inappropriate association. I don't think it weakens the fabric. I think that if there is to be a success around a World Heritage site, that the addition of this building does not weaken that process at all. There are some arguments that would say it actually strengthens it.
We had this argument in front of the commissioners at the resource consent hearing, which recently finished. And the Arts Centre Trust Board and the university brought up witnesses who said no, it wouldn't. But I think the most important witness was a witness that we brought, who told them the following story. The biggest wooden buildings in New Zealand are the old education buildings opposite Parliament in Wellington. UNESCO came and inspected them and said they were absolutely perfect for World Heritage status. The university bought those buildings, Victoria University, and then put a new building in the courtyard of this old historic block. UNESCO said, forget about the application. You've just destroyed it. That is exactly what would happen now if this building goes ahead on this site. It is taken as a sign of absolute bad faith if while you were talking about putting in an application, you actually construct a modern building on the site.
Opponents of the development question the need for a national conservatorium based at the Arts Centre.
Well, for a start, using the word national is a bit cheeky, isn't it, really? When they're actually, it's the fifth biggest music school in New Zealand at the moment. So the fifth the biggest, how can you be national music school?
So I find that strange, to put it mildly, that we shouldn't aspire to be a national conservatorium specialised and recognised for performance music training and practice. To simply accept we're a regional provincial town is bizarre. That the reality is that we can claim to title this a National Conservatorium of Music because we aspire for it to be of a national standard recognised internationally. We don't have to go on bended knees to Wellington to get the right to aspire to be a national institution. So for those who claim that it's little, or those who claim that we shouldn't aspire, I would simply say to them, maybe their time has passed and the city does wish to aspire to host national institutions.
They have got the land at Ilam. They've got the land, I believe, surveyed at Ilam. They could very well, Rod Carr has actually said, if not, the Arts Centre will build it at Ilam. And he said something to words of the effect of, if there's enough people in Christchurch against it, we won't build it here, we'll build it there. And I suggest that Rod Carr should go out to Ilam and stick out there.
The specific wording that I said is, we will not go where we are not wanted. Right? It always begs the question is, by who? Today, we have the Arts Centre Trust Board saying, you are welcome. We have the City Council by a majority saying, we will fund. We have the University Council saying, we would like to go. We have the University Students Association saying, we think you should go. We've had the Canterbury Employers Chamber of Commerce, the Christchurch Businessmen's Association and the Canterbury Manufacturers Association all saying, you are welcome. I think at this point it is clear that there are a significant number of the community who either are not opposed or neutral to whether we go or not.
The City of Christchurch is not likely to see an end to these arguments for a long time yet.
What happens now is that the commissioners will, probably not until mid to late April, will bring their decision down, either to allow the building to be built or not, as the case may be. The City Council has then to say yes or no to the commissioners' report or recommendation, depending on which way the decision goes on the part of the commissioners and the council. One side or the other will almost certainly appeal it to the Environment Court, so that that's likely to take another year and a half before that process is ended.
And so the debate over the small piece of land in the centre of Christchurch carries on and is likely to for the foreseeable future. There are both positives and negatives to a development like this, and it's impossible to predict an outcome. Whatever the future holds for the site, it's important to remember that Christchurch is fortunate to have buildings of this stature and beauty, and we have to tread carefully when moving forward to ensure that we treat these buildings with the respect they deserve.